Welcome. I'm Patricia Sargent, and this is Into the Writer's Cave, the show where we chat with fun and fabulous authors about their stories. Today, we're going into the Writer's Cave with fan favorite Donna MacMeans. Donna, thank you so much for joining us on Into the Writer's Cave and allowing us to explore in your Writer's Cave.
Oh, well, thank you. It's fun to be here. It's always fun to be with you, Patricia.
No, the pleasure is always mine. So I hope that I don't get us too far off track chatting with you, because it really is a pleasure to chat with you. Let's start with the basics. How many books have you published?
Well, I do keep a list, and so I can answer this one easily. I published 9 full novels, 2 novellas, so I guess that's 11 books, and then I have 4 short stories out there.
Oh, wow. And how many of those books are in series?
Actually, this is a little tricky, but there's 4 of them, the way I count them. The first series is totally completed, and that has 3 books in it. You have to understand, I don't write books in series, the series books in series, like any sane person would do. Instead, I have multiple projects going on, so I'll write 1 book for 1 series and then another book for another series to keep that one going. So I have 1 completed series, 1 series called The Rake Patrol that I just am about to release the 3rd book in that series. I think probably could use another book. I'm getting tired of that series, so I'm not too sure how many more that'll have, probably at least 1. Then there's Bound by Moonlight. That one has 1 full book, a novella, and I'd like to write another full book in that one. Charming the Professor, I'm planning 2 more full books for that one. So that would be 4 series. And I still have other books I need to write. So,
so many books, so little time.
That's very true. I need to learn how to write faster.
Oh, so. Don't we all? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about what the series, the stories that are told within those series, just where they take place, the time period?
Okay. Time period is always a tricky one, because when I started publishing, my editor told me that in order to be historical, it couldn't go past 1900. So I've been very careful. The Chamber series, my first book was The Education of Mrs. Brimley. When I wrote that book, I did not think it would ever be published. I figured it was a standalone book. I never planned to turn it into a series. So the other 2 books were at the request of my editor. And those are all set kind of around the 1870s in England, and just deal with the family, the Chambers family, the 2 brothers and a sister. The Rake Patrol is based on 4 women that they're friends, and one of them works for the local newspaper. Again, it's set in England, in Mayfair. The time is a little further along, maybe in the 1880s. And they noticed that this guy with a bad reputation, who always has women hanging all over him, has placed an ad in the newspaper that one of them works for, looking for a quiet, domestic person interested in marriage. And they know that's not what this guy is, but they figure that he's trying to attract these homebody women, these nice, innocent women, for nefarious purposes. So they form a pack that they are going to investigate men that advertise in the personal ads to see if they're worthy of the women that they're after. And that's the premise of the Rake Patrol. Every book starts out with an ad and what comes after. Bound by Moonlight, that's my first paranormal. That's a woman who turns invisible in moonlight. Can't help it, just happened. And she has a sister. Actually, she has 2 younger sisters. And I envision a series involving that family. That also takes place in England at the same time as the other 2, although they don't cross paths anywhere. And the last one, Charming the Professor, that's a time travel. It starts, the heroine is from 1850s, specifically from the 1850s. And she comes forward in time into modern day New Orleans. The second book in the series, which would be called Charming the Thief, is for a guy in the book. You get an idea of this at the end of Charming the Professor. But the villain in Charming the Professor goes, yes, that's my computer. Sorry about that.
Oh,
I'm not sure how to turn it off. Or I would. But the villain in Charming the Professor ends up falling back in time into the 1850s. And so they have an adventure in Spain, in Madrid, in the 1850s.
Oh, that sounds.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So you write historicals and you write historical paranormals, which I think is fabulous. What gave you the inspiration to combine your historicals with the paranormals?
Oh, I'd say lack of selling. Like I said, the education of Mrs. Brimley, I didn't think that would ever sell. I had written the book. I had shopped it around to a lot of people. None of them, I got a lot of really nice rejection letters, but they were rejection letters. And I thought about it and I thought, my very first publishing credit was for a paranormal story, not historical paranormal, but contemporary paranormal, a short story called Smoke and Mirrors. And if that one got published, why, I'm chasing the wrong horse race here, the wrong horse. I should be writing paranormal. The problem is I like light, funny things. That is in all my books.
Yeah, your humor is in all of your books. Very cool.
Yes. What's life without humor? I mean, what's the point? So there's humor in all of my books. And sometimes that's not the case in the top-selling paranormal books. But mine have a lot of humor in them. And I decided I needed to go that route. I had already written The Education of Mrs. Brimley, so I was firmly entrenched in the Victorian time period. And at the time, when I looked at the movies they were all superhero type movies on TV. The big TV show was Heroes, which were kids with paranormal talents. And I thought, I think the movie, the most recent movie, certainly not the best movie, but was My Super Ex-Girlfriend, which was a stupid movie. It had a great shark scene in it, but it was not very bright, but it was still paranormal. So I thought I would do something with a heroine with some sort of supernatural paranormal abilities, and came up with invisibility. Originally she was going to fly, but if she's Victorian and they had those heavy gowns, I figured when she landed she'd look like a blimp. So I went with invisibility, and I wanted it to be not the kind of invisibility where she's always that way. The Invisible Man comes to mind, that movie where because of an accident he was always invisible.
Right.
My heroine is not. I wanted her to turn invisible, but it would come when she couldn't control it, that she'd have no control over when it happened, but it happened at a logical period. So if the moon was out, if the moon was full, she would fade away to nothing. If she's totally invisible, she's in full phase. But if she's indoors for a long period of time, or if the moon goes behind the cloud for a period of time, she'll come back. You'll start to see her. She'll start to look like a ghost until she's back to her full human form again. And if she's invisible, truly invisible, she has to be naked because they don't have invisible clothes back then. So if she's starting to come back, well, that could be a bit of a problem. If you suddenly see her walking down the street. So that led to that book, Charming the Professor, which is technically a paranormal because it's a time travel.
Right.
That was inspired by a trip to New Orleans and the discovery of the charm gates in New Orleans. Those are real things. And coming up with the story to suit that. And it had to be, because of the story, it had to be a time travel. But that one was so much fun. I really enjoyed that one. So that's, I like paranormal because it's so freeing. You can create your world. You can do things in your world that you can't do in everyday life.
So in your one book, let's take Charming the Professor, for example, you have the historical, you have the paranormal, and you have the humor. So it's like three in one.
Well, yeah. I I consider myself a humor writer. I'm told I am not. I am just uh, I have a lot of humor in my books, but it isn't the point of the book. And there's a lot of angst in the books as well. And because they are romances, there's sex in the books. And I am known as something of a very sensual, sexy kind of author. So, yeah, you get a lot when you get one of my books, but they're fun. They're fun. They're fun to write. I hope they're fun to read as well.
Oh, yes, they are. They're definitely fun to read. They're pull you into the story, which is what we're looking for in
Mhm.
our books.